Hi, everyone. We're here at No One Warned You podcast. This is the second episode of this series of three episodes we have with Brett Schklar here with us. If you don't know who he is, go back to the previous episode where he introduced himself and he has given us a lot to think about AI and how he built a business around it and actually to give him the lifestyle he wanted rather than the business consuming himself. So, for business owners and the purpose of this podcast, there's a lot you can take from that episode. But now, in this one, we're going to talk about AI is making your marketing worse, not better. Brett, thanks for being here. Such an honor.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Henry. Appreciate it. It's been fun so far.
In Brett, some people are using AI to make more noise and it's making marketing worse. Uh, what can you say, what can you talk about it?
Yeah, I think we're going through. I think marketing is going through phases, and I'll talk about a couple of things. If you listen to the previous podcast, the previous episode, you probably know a little bit about my background. I've got a fractional CMO company. Good customer base, great team of people that deliver the solutions. But I've taken everything I've done as far as using a very AI forward approach, and I go out and I talk to a lot of different companies about AI. And, um, we've gone through these waves that I've seen, and marketing, hands down, has led the adoption of AI. They've had to, they've wanted to. It's the most natural place. And so, as part of my AI first leadership business, I track what I call the return on AI, or ROAI. And marketing is like way up there at about 3.2x, productivity gains. And sales is number two, and there's others, but marketing and sales are really on the strong side, and marketing is really in the lead. And so, because of that, we've gone through the waves of hype, of effectiveness, and of just spitting out crap, more than anybody else. So I would say for the last 2 years, we have been in, I wouldn't necessarily call it AI slop, but I don't know a better term for that. We were throwing out as much content as we possibly could, thinking that more content is gooder. And it was, somebody was having a lot of KPIs, key performance indicators, that they wanted more content because AI could do it. And we were getting all kinds of AI slop. And so the volume went up and the quality went down and the conversion went way down. I think 2026 is really the year where we started to look at that and say, maybe all of this throwing it down your throats, especially while SEO is changing and we're more focused on AEO and GEO, maybe it's more about the quality than it is about the quantity. And so, one of the most important things that I've learned when it comes to marketing and AI and how to make it sharper and better is a thought process. And this thought experiment looks like this: intelligence, human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And you think of artificial intelligence as an intelligence that is now unlimited, it is practically free. A token is 1.15 cents per token. So, this intelligence is unlimited. So instead of using that to create slop, use it to create the intelligence to where humans come in and bring the judgment. They bring the wisdom. They bring that experience. So the intelligence isn't just about throwing out more content. The intelligence is now more about how do you outflank your competitors and really emphasize the competitive differentiation. How do you get better at doing things like ICPs, ideal client profiles, or buyer personas, and make sure that you're really nailing hitting the nail on the head when it comes to um, giving people what they're asking for at the right stage of the buyer journey. So, slop is out. That was so to 2025. Intelligence is in, and wisdom and judgment is a thing that's really given this sharper focus, this better quality versus higher volume. That's what I'm seeing. That's what we're doing with our clients. And what we're seeing is the cost of customer acquisition is going down and the conversion rate is going up. And we're really pushing this idea that with unlimited intelligence and the wisdom that comes from experience from fractional CMOs that have been there, done that, wrote the book, we are seeing that the accuracy is going up, the anxiety is going down, and the slop is getting into the back seat while the adults at the wheel are driving the car.
I love this picture that you painted as how we can balance out. And definitely, we have this source of unlimited intelligence on one end, but then the judgment and wisdom coming from the human brain. I love it how you put it. And as well, I love also what you said, the speeding out crap. So if one on one end, uh, AI can definitely speed up things. On the other end, it can enhance, but it can also just make you look worse faster than before, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. And in the way you see things, what does precision over volume look like in practice?
Yeah. I think that the real as businesses, small, medium, and large businesses, we all need measurements. How are we performing? How are we doing this week versus the previous week? And what is our target for the next week? And so, what I see and what our fractional CMOs are really guiding companies on is to really look at those KPIs and those success metrics and to focus on more targeted communication. So, instead of sending out one newsletter, you can now send out maybe 5 or 6 different newsletters with different core messages to different targeted segmented audiences and pushing on better targeting, better message, but also higher conversion rate and not worrying about the size of the audience, bigger is better, and the number of newsletters going out, the more the better. But focusing more on that precision and that accuracy. So rewire, we hear the word rewiring when it comes to AI. We're all having to rewire the way we think. You know, we all now I rewatched recently Mad Men, right? So,
Mhm.
Madison Avenue, 1960s. I grew up in the wrong era. And, uh, as I think about it, I think about the fact that every one of those executives has an assistant and has a small team. And a lot of us now don't have that. But if you think about using AI as your team, as your executive assistant, you now realize that you have a lot more speed and capability to be more thoughtful. So the KPIs change, everything's being rewired. Less is more. And that's back to a 1960s reference of less is more. Uh, that I think it was Mary Kay who said that, that was really famous for stating that. And we're seeing that when less is more and the accuracy is better, the performance increases and the relationship with a client kicks off in a better way than it did before.
So, if I'm hearing you right, then the help you can get from AI rather than volume, which could make things worse and create more problems than solutions, is actually that you can be more specific, more precise, more targeted, and so you're sharper. And that doesn't mean, and because of that, you don't need so much volume, if I'm hearing you right.
Correct. So here's a way to think about it. Um, because AI gives us more time for us as humans to think and think about our wisdom and our judgment, we're now able to really look at how do we begin a relationship with the end in mind? Not the end of the relationship, but what the end of the yellow brick road looks like in success. So we can say, here's more of what our perfect customers look like. We can get better alignment so we have a better customer relationship, and therefore the length of the relationship with a customer or the number of times that they return to buy more increases. And AI gives us this ability to step back and think instead of going through all of our tasks, because we're all task masters at the end of the day, especially small business owners. But if we're letting AI automate and we're letting AI do the dirty work for us, we have more time to think, and we can think about what is the perfect customer for me and for my business. Where do we want to go as a business? How do we focus on maintaining and really increasing the relationship with those customers so they either continue, the relationship, or they buy more from you? And so we can really begin with that end goal of success in mind a lot more.
That's that's such a good way to put it. And I I have a sense, I might be wrong, but I have a sense that because business owners, especially the smaller ones and the ones that are mid-sized, like you said, they're task masters. So they got very good at getting things done. I'm wondering if once they add AI to a part of their process, their workflows, if they would have this intelligence to look things from a strategic perspective, or if they would find something to keep themselves busy. I don't know.
Yeah, this is I love what you're hitting on, and I think that this is something that we hear about as business owners often, but we don't really get to step back and think about, and that is, successful businesses build systems, not tasks. And if we can get actually the CEO of Fiverr, right? The company, the Fiverr is where you go. You can spend $5 for a logo, $100 for a website, or even more. And there's all kinds of human, resources that are available in a marketplace of resources for graphic design, for development, for translations, for all this stuff. Obviously, their business is having a red alert right now because AI is taking on a lot of those tasks. But the CEO of Fiverr, he said something really interesting. He said, with the oncoming generative AI movement, the easy tasks, if you think about it as a business, the easy tasks should be automated. The hard tasks now become the easy tasks. And the tasks that we thought were impossible are now not only possible, but doable. So I think for every CEO out there, for small and mid-sized businesses, what, and I think Micah Kaufman is his name, or Mika Kaufman, I can't remember, but what he said was right? That the easy tasks, get them out of there, automate them, the systems. The hard tasks, look at how you can make those easy, which you should be able to in the world of generative AI. Then you get to spend some time thinking about the things you didn't think you could solve before. And if you think about that as a business owner, if you think about that as far as systems, then you can start saying, okay, these tasks that are taking up my time, I can either offload to AI or a virtual assistant or somebody less strategic. You can systematize those things so you can really spend your time thinking and building, which is what you kind of got in this business as a CEO to do in the first place.
Brett, that's beautiful. I was reminded here of what I think Scott Adams wrote, and he said, "Goals are for losers, systems are for winners."
Got it. Yep.
And that's so true because a goal without a system is just probably potentially a good idea
Yeah.
or a dream.
Yeah.
Uh, and Brett, as we end this episode, I have one last question for you, which is kind of a rabbit hole I'm taking here, but I'm curious to know how has AI really helped you and enhanced you in the lifestyle you wanted to create? Because you mentioned this in the previous episode, and then we talked about getting busy versus uh, actually taking a strategic approach. And I'm thinking here, because even if you've done all the strategy, you could, as a business owner, someone, I'm talking to the audience here, you could use that time to keep busy, or even if you've done all the work, you can take care of your family, travel, whatever it is. Anyway, I would like to hear from you in your own life. How did it amplify your lifestyle or the life you wanted to create?
Yeah, and I know we're going to dive into this much more deeply in our next episode. But what I will tell you is, um, from my perspective, as I think about the journey of the company that I started, scaled up, and sold, it was a B2B marketing and branding agency. Um, I am kicking myself, realizing, and I think one of the reasons why I started this new, fractional CMO business was because of the change in the technology, the change in the platforms, the change in the way you think about systems. Where I was excited to say, okay, this is what I did before, and these were all the barriers, as far as costs and office space and collaboration. And then, replacing a lot of that with AI now that gives me that, much more flexibility. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, and I'm sure we'll dive into it a lot more in the next episode. But um, I'm a creative person. I'm not a systems person by nature. AI has been my saving grace and my holy grail. I don't know if I've ever been diagnosed as ADD, but I know, I've got that scattered brain. I'm always thinking about other things. I get excited about building things, but then once they're built, bring it, just get it off my plate so I can go and build the next thing. And I was trapped in my other business because I could not automate. I would build the idea of a perfect system. And by the way, perfect is the enemy of good, all that stuff. But now I have a chance to actually build a more perfect system using AI that is my thinking partner. And I can offload that to either an agent or a virtual assistant, and I can go and think about doing more stuff. And I can do it from anywhere as long as I've got internet connection, a laptop, or even my phone, where I spend a ton of my time talking to my voice AI assistant and building what comes next for my business, which I'm dying to talk about, and maybe we'll get into that in the next episode. How it becomes my thinking partner. But those are some of the ways that really has transformed me and made me realize that in this world we're moving into is very AI centric and AI forward, those of us with attention issues are have a higher chance of winning the game by leveraging AI and systems, and the rest of the world is going to be left way behind.
Brett, I see so much of myself in what you're saying. So, and for you watching and listening here, thank you so much for being here. We're wrapping up this episode. Remember, this is the second one. We've had a previous one, and we're going to keep talking to Brett here a bit more, and we're going to hear how he the lessons he learned in his first business, the one he sold, and how he used that experience to leverage what he's doing now. And definitely great things are to come. And Brett, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Vern. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Thank you. Bye bye.